Next, let's move on to Green Bay at Atlanta. Atlanta has taken some early money, gotten bet up a bit from -1.5 to 2.5, but the line's been out for a while. It hasn't gone to 3 yet, and it may not. We'll see what happens. But just giving this one a once over, you might think that the line maybe should be a little bit higher. You know, Green Bay, yes, they got a nice road win over Philly to get here, and they have a great defense. But they're off a short week for this game, and we've seen repeatedly this year how their offense can just disappear at times, kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde offense, especially in big games. Atlanta, of course, they're a top team. They play well at home in the Dome, so giving 2.5 points might seem not like that much. It's a little short. On SBR, some people have noted how good Atlanta is at home. Matt Ryan's actually 20-2 overall at home in his career, and the Falcons have been a very good bet over the Packers in recent years. Atlanta's covered 5 of the last 6 spreads in games they played against Green Bay. So in light of all that, wondering, is Atlanta still a good bet here, giving less than a field goal? That's the opinion of some on SBR. Let's start with Scott, since you had such a good read on the Green Bay win and under last week.
Yeah, Peter, Atlanta, for me, they actually qualify in a situation that's 48-20-0 in the playoffs. And there's some other parameters here, but it basically plays on teams that have a decided advantage in wins for the year over their opponent, basically saying that Atlanta is a superior team to Green Bay because of those wins. But when I make the number in this game, I actually make a number Green Bay by 2 points. So
really?
What you've got here is a situation favoring Atlanta, but obviously the value, in my opinion, based on everything I look at, favoring Green Bay. And I think the Packers are the better team here. And, you know, as I've said for weeks here, I bleed green and gold, so you always have to sift through that when you're listening to me, talk about the Packers. But I've been on with the Packers this year, and this defense is very, very, very good. And if you look at their road games this year, they have not allowed more than 20 points in any road game, other than the game at New England, where Matt Flynn started. He threw an interception, returned for a touchdown, and an offensive lineman returned a kickoff to the 4-yard line, which basically ended up in a touchdown. So they only gave up 17 points to New England in that game. So, number one, I would look at this from a team total standpoint. If you can get Atlanta at maybe total team points at 24 or 24.5, I think the under is a good play here. And I would still lean towards Green Bay. This line was 2.5 when they played earlier in the year. Statistically, Green Bay dominated that game. Rodgers fumbled going into the end zone on a quarterback sneak, or Green Bay perhaps would have won that game. Atlanta's played 3 playoff games at home this year. They defeated Baltimore by 5. They scored late in that game. They obviously beat the Packers by 3, and they lost by 3 against New Orleans. So it's going to be a close game, I think, if Atlanta wins this game. I just think the Packers, their offense is better, their defense is better. If they don't turn the ball over, they're the better play in this game. Because of that situation in Atlanta, I don't know that I'll actually play a side in this game. But if I can get a team total on Atlanta at 24 or 24.5, which is obviously very key, I would go under the team total because the Packers' defense isn't going to give up a lot of points. Their offense may not score, as you said. They've had 3 games this year where they've scored 10 or less points. Actually won two of those games because of their defense. I just don't think Atlanta's going to score a lot of points, and that might be the best play here, in my opinion.
Interesting analysis. Zach, what's your simulation for this game? Green Bay as a favorite?
We have the same as him. We have Green Bay actually as the favorite in this game. It's a really tough game to figure out when it comes to point spreads. And that Aaron Rodgers fumble on the goal line is really interesting to me because I don't really look at scores when I analyze games. I really look at scoring opportunities. It's something that we talked about around the Oregon State game. How many times do you either turn the ball over, just either get to the red zone, miss no matter what the outcome is, whether you score a touchdown, turn over the ball, miss, or make a field goal. I want to see scoring opportunities. And I really think, if Green Bay can get the same sort of effort from Stark that they did last week in Philadelphia and run the ball and be balanced, which our simulations are projecting that they can and they will, I wouldn't play the side. I would go ahead and take the plus 130 here and go with Green Bay. And just, I don't really feel like I'd want those points. I think Atlanta probably could win by at least a field goal in what could be considered a close game. So I'll go ahead and take those odds. Again, not a strong play, not even something that I might say, clients get in on because Green Bay's been a tough team to project with all the injuries. But I'm going to go ahead and take the odds on the money line here.
All right, cool. Yeah, it's not a surprise that we're not coming out with opinions on huge, obvious value in an NFL playoff game. But John Ryan, what do you think about this line?
I like Atlanta in this game. I like them for a lot of different reasons, one of which they seem to be the black sheep of the whole playoffs. They're not getting any respect like some of the other teams are getting. The thing I will say about Green Bay's win over Philadelphia, and I've been saying this all season, is that Philadelphia defense has been vastly overrated. In fact, they have been the benefactor of Michael Vick getting out to big leads, and then the Phillies secondary can just play cover 2, and they basically can relax and keep the ball play between the 20s. What we saw last week with Green Bay is they exploited the middle of the field on the Eagles' defense, which I think is one of the worst in the league. Furthermore, they had a great defensive scheme using 3 different defenders to bracket Vick and keep him from making big plays with his legs. So with Green Bay doing that against what I consider a poor team, I think the public is just enamored with Green Bay now that they are the team, and now they're the team that could go beat New England in the Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Atlanta's just kind of sitting there saying, hey, we're the number 1 seed.
Right.
So here's a little stat for you with Atlanta. Rested NFC teams that are number 1 seeds are 19-1 straight up and 16-4 against the spread when hosting an opponent with a winning percentage under 666, who is off a straight-up underdog win. So there you go, 16-4 against the number, 19-1 straight up. I think I'd be inclined to play the money line on Atlanta and sit back and watch.